Today in history. It is April 24th, and our journey to the past will continue.
That's right. We have 3 events to share with our listeners today, and that comes in just a moment. But first, a quiz question for you. It is, a renowned space telescope currently in orbit is the number 1, Hubble, or number 2, Bubble. The question again. A renowned space telescope currently in orbit is the number 1, Hubble, or number 2, Bubble. If you know the answer, please text in pounder sharp 1045 on your cell phone for 51, or leave your answers on our Bondi board, and you could win an eco bag and mug cup.
That's right. Okay, so here's the short list of those things that have happened on this day in history.
Today in history. In 1800, the Library of Congress was established. In 1942, Barbra Streisand was born, and in 1990, the Hubble Space Telescope was launched.
네, 그렇습니다. Barbra Streisand, 그 유명한 그 가수 Barbra Streisand가 오늘 또 생일을 맞았네요. 그런가 하면 Hubble Space Telescope가 오늘 처음으로 발사된 날이기도 합니다. And there's one more, and that's exactly what we're just about to talk about. On a day like this, one of the largest libraries in the world was established with an allocation of $5,000 in 1800.
Yes, and that is none other than the Library of Congress, which officially serves the U.S. Congress, but it is nonetheless known as the National Library of the country.
네, 미국 의회 도서관, 흔히 이제 국립도서관으로 알려졌죠. The Library of Congress is the largest library in the world in terms of items cataloged, with more than 155 million items contained in the 4 buildings that comprise the library. The entire collection of the library is set to fill about 1,350 kilometers of bookshelves, more than twice than the collection of the British Library.
To put it into perspective, 26 million books can be contained in 10 terabytes. The Library of Congress has far exceeded the terabyte mark, and it is now marking tens of petabytes, the next unit of the byte system in digital context. I've never even heard of a petabyte. I didn't know there was anything larger than a terabyte.
I was just about to get used to terabytes myself, and now there's more.
Now you have a new term to learn, right?
Right. 2,600만 권의 책이 10 terabyte에 다 실려 있어요. And this information is all available at its American Memory site, and which has allowed librarians from all over the world to consult the library's catalogs and collections.
And what is quite remarkable is that half of the library's books and collections are in languages other than English, and that's 470 different languages.
470
Wow.
different languages. Well, the library holds some of the rarest books and documents in history, including the country's Declaration of Independence and the Gutenberg Bible, one of the only 3 perfect copies known to exist to date.
But that's not all. The library also holds many unique books, such as a book so small that it is the size of a period in a sentence. Isn't that interesting?
아니, 점 하나에
A period.
끼만큼.
Yeah, that's
네.
correct. At the end of a sentence, that's how big the book is.
네,
Or
방금
how small.
Exactly. 방금 보이는 라디오를 통해서 보여드렸는데 아주 작은 그런 크기의 책도 역시 전시가 되어 있습니다. And if there is small, then there's also big. The biggest book physically in the Library of Congress is a book featuring color pictures of Bhutan, and it is bigger than an adult.
There it is on Boynan Radio right now. That is a huge book, isn't it?
네.
It's almost a book of posters, if you will.
그러니까.
All right, well, let's move on now. When it comes to being big, the following figure can't be avoided. We're talking about figuratively being a star, right?
Uh-huh. And that's because she, who was born on this day in 1942, has sold more than 245 million records worldwide, making her the one of the best-selling female artists of all time, the only female artist to have Billboard #1 spots in 5 decades from the 60s to the 2000s.
She is singer, songwriter, author, producer, actress, writer, and director Barbra Streisand, a member of the exclusive EGOT or EGOT, or the Emmy, Golden Globe, Oscar, and Tony Club.
와, 그걸 EGOT라고 하는군요. 앞 머리 글자만 따서 it's an acronym there. And speaking of which, she is the only artist to have been awarded an Oscar for acting and songwriting, and what's more, an Oscar on her first feature film.
Unbelievable, right? That award came thanks to her role in Funny Girl in 1960. But among the many, many accolades she holds, one of the most outstanding ones is that she was the first woman to ever win a Golden Globe as Best Director. As of last year, she still remains sole winner of that.
Oh, well, her career is surely of astronomical proportions, and she even has a phenomenon named after her.
Yes, and that is the so-called Streisand effect,
Streisand effect.
which refers to the unwanted publicity a star gains when he or she is in fact trying to hinder it, as it was the case with Streisand when she tried to stop the spreading of photographs of her residence, which at the end, of course, resulted in more publicity.
아, 그렇다면 원치 않는데 언론이라든지 일반 대중의 관심을 지나치게 많이 받는다라고 할 때 그걸 Streisand effect.
You don't want it, but it turns out because you don't want it, you get more.
그러니까 나는 그런 거 스팟라이트 받고 싶지 않다 했는데 그러다 보니까 더 많은 스팟라이트를 받게 될 때 그걸 Streisand effect라고 하는군요. 네, okay. Now the pictures is what our last event is all about.
On this day in 1990, the Hubble Space Telescope was launched, a crucial device that has allowed us to explore and get to know more about outer space. There it is there.
Right. 자, the telescope orbits our planet, and this has allowed for extremely high resolution images ever. What's more, these pictures have led to breakthroughs in astronomy and astrophysics, such as determining the rate of how fast the universe is expanding.
And the images are, to say the least, unbelievable. You can see some of them there on Point and Radio. The Hubble is, of course, not the first space telescope, but it is indeed one of the largest and most versatile, as well as internationally renowned for its role of connecting the public with the field of astronomy.
아하, 그러니까 첫 번째 우주 망원경은 아니지만 그 크기라든지 또 유용성에 대해서만큼은 타의 추종을 불허한다고 하는군요. So what this implies is that anyone can make use of the telescope. Yes, anyone.
Anyone at all, huh? Well, there are no restrictions on nationality or academic affiliation, but before you decide to give it a try, you have to know that competition for time on the Hubble is intense, to say the least. Very competitive, to use that piece of machinery.
Understandably, of course.
Totally.
네, 자 오늘 이렇게 해서 4월 24일에 있었던 역사적인 사건에 대해서 함께 알아봤습니다. So before we wrap up, well, here's the answer to your quiz question.
The question was, a renowned space telescope currently in orbit is and you had two choices. Number 1, the Hubble, or number 2, the Bubble. And of course, the answer was number 1, the Hubble telescope. All right, so we'll go to this break, and when we come back, we'll be sharing some inspirational stories with you from Chicken Soup for the Soul. Here is a song from Barbra Streisand, born on this day. Happy birthday, Barbara. It's the theme from A Star is Born, and it's called Evergreen.